Happy Monday.
It's Monday. We've just finished the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus. Our candidates for governor and our candidates for U.S. Senate.
You just wanted to say caucus.
I thought it was caucus. Like, I always thought that caucus. I was like, that's why I was going, because it's a caucus.
Yeah. And I went to the Trans Collaborative Networks conference over the weekend.
Okay.
That was super
She's a busy
fascinating.
woman.
You were a
Very
busy
busy.
bee.
I was a busy bee.
When do you sleep?
Yeah.
He doesn't.
And tonight we're going to do some of that news, and I'm sitting between the gigantic L's. We'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
Gigantic.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Monday, August 9th, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Hello, and thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited, live, LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We're part of the Happening Out television network, HotSpots magazine, and WMEG events. HotSpots is celebrating 35 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and merged, we bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our LGBTQ plus community.
This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet. I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's first welcome anchor Faye What? She's a radio and television personality and has the popular blog and the YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Faye's Fur Family. She apparently likes shoes. And is also the anchor of the travel news show, Happening Out Travel. Also, make sure to catch the Faye What Show Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Good evening, Shoes.
Good evening, boys. I am so happy to be here. ¿Qué pasa, mi gente? All right, now I'm ready. Let's welcome Gregg Shapiro. Yes, my homie. He's a renowned LGBTQ plus writer. Gregg is the author of 7 books, including the 2021 expanded edition of his short story collection, How to Whistle. An entertainment journalist, Shapiro's celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ plus and mainstream publications and websites. And his screensaver movie reviews can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco's Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and much, much more. Good evening, Gregg.
Good evening, Faye. Good evening, y'all. Let's welcome anchor Poppy J. Snacks, a non-binary Latinx comedian and burlesque performer here in Wilton Manors. Poppy serves up laughter and comedy as part of the House of Yes, a queer comedy collective within the Villain Theater in Miami. You can also catch Poppy every first Thursday night at the pub's Comedy Night in Wilton Manors. Welcome, Poppy.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here for the first time. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Julio Capo Jr. He's a history professor and the deputy director of the Wilsonian Public Humanities Lab, or WPHL for short, at Florida International University. He specializes in the history of race relations and immigration in the United States, as well as LGBTQ studies. He is the author of the book, Welcome to Fairyland, Queer Miami Before 1940, and curated a new exhibition called Messages from a Pandemic, AIDS Graphic Communication. Good evening, Julio.
Hey, so good to be here with you all. I wish I had shoes to show you, but mine are not as cute. So I will. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News Tonight for today, Monday, August 9th.
Let's begin by queering up sports. Team LGBTQ plus earns 32 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. As the torch goes out at Japan National Stadium, the end has arrived for the 2020 Tokyo Summer Games, dubbed the Rainbow Olympics by some for the record number of LGBTQ plus competitors. At least 182 out athletes from about 30 countries attended the Tokyo Games, more than 3 times the number who competed in the 2016 Summer Games in Rio de Janeiro, according to LGBTQ sports site OutSports. At least 55 of those athletes who competed in 35 different sports won medals. 5 nabbed gold for Team USA. In women's basketball alone. In fact, if the LGBTQ Olympians competed as their own country, affectionately labeled Team LGBTQ by OutSports, they would rank 11th in the total medal count, right behind France and before Canada. With 32 team and individual medals, 11 of them gold, 12 silver, and 9 bronze.
I'm sad that it's over, right? Like, this was the first Olympics that I actually watched, and it was because of our representation, because of our community, you know? I fell in love with Miss Saunders and her crazy ass hair. All the soccer players, I love the basketball players were hot as hell, right?
Goodness.
All right, you know, the wrestlers, Laurel Hubbard, the weightlifting girl.
Daly,
He was my favorite. Listen, I'm crocheting now because of that dude, all right? Like, he made a little holder for his medal. How cute is that? I don't want him to go away.
There's something, go ahead.
Sorry, maybe this will mean that they'll finally give us queers our own paradise, like the mascara, you know, with Wonder Woman as our prime minister. You know, everyone's been wanting to exclude us from the world, so this proves that we can conquer.
And doesn't this also prove, Papi, that we're everywhere? Like, you know, maybe a lot of those athletes weren't free to be out, but you knew. Because, you know, we have that look that we just look at each other. We're like, you're gay, yeah. You know, but they were there and they were representing, and that was beautiful.
On this international stage. I mean, it's an incredible. I don't want to, you know, but this idea of how inspiring it is for so many of us. Like, I mean, whether you play in amateur sports or play in high school, and as there's so many kind of efforts to prohibit people from, trans people especially, right, in a lot of these sports, and then to see like all these people making it, and that this is only the start of something really big.
You know, for years I've made the joke to gay guys, this is sports.
Yeah.
You know? Gregg is sitting at this table and is still one of the evangelists of this is sports, Gregg, this is sports. But what's interesting about this Olympics is from 2012 to 2016, the number of LGBT representation doubled. And as a result, the Olympics and sporting events elevated a little bit in profile in LGBT. This time from Rio in 16 to Tokyo in 20, which is really 21, it tripled. And there has, I think, interesting phased response. We've had more recognition in the LGBTQ community of the Olympics than ever in history. And why? It's because we start to see ourselves.
Yes.
Triple the representation means that it's going to continue to grow. And you know, one of the fantastic things about representation among lesbians, mostly women representing us at the games, the greatest number of trans ever, the first trans gold medal in history, and most important of all, the International Olympic Committee and the national sports bodies all saying LGBT representation and protection is important in sports. So when we get to Paris in 24, oh my goodness, what you get ready to see in gay Paris.
Goody, just 3 more years. Oh, I can't wait.
If you gave gay boys jock straps to smell, they would like more sports. All right, now let's queer up HotSpots magazine. HotSpots presents Scott Holland's What's Hot This Week. The best way to find out what's hot every week is with Scott Holland's What's Hot This Week in HotSpots magazine. This week, fresh with my girl T.P. Lords as she returns this Wednesday to Twist and every Wednesday thereafter. Showtime is 1 a.m. and DJ Sushi Man spins all night long. On Saturday, The Pet Project presents their annual bowl-a-thon at Manor Lanes. Registration is at 10 a.m. with bowling starting at 10:45 a.m. On Sunday, Fantasy Sundays at the pub presents a benefit for Calypso Monroe to send it to the Miss Florida FI at 9 p.m. Hosted by Kimberly Venom, there will be performances by all of your favorite South Florida queens, and there's going to be raffles sponsored by The Manor and Noche Latina. Saturdays at the Manor and the pub, To find out more about these and other great events throughout South Florida, make sure to grab the newest issue of HotSpots magazines on stands right now.
Now we queer up business.
You don't want to talk about what's going on this week, Greg?
Oh.
Just because you don't want to go, I want to go.
Queering up business is really important.
First he doesn't want to talk about sports. Now he doesn't want to talk about party things.
And I'm a vegetarian with this next story. Okay, yeah.
And I'm a vegetarian, but I still don't know about these things.
There's a lot going on down here.
I want to do all those things. I want to go bowl. I want to go to Twist. It's been a minute. Like, I'm excited. All those things sound really exciting. Yeah.
And Calypso Monroe is a great drag queen. I remember back in the day, I used to go to Asuka down in Miami.
Yes, I used to love Asuka.
And she won like a whole season of Drag Wars there, and it's like nice, like seeing how she's like come up in the game, become a South Florida legend. So I wish her luck. And,
so we got to support her to get her over there, because it ain't cheap to become queen, by what I hear.
Yeah, I saw T.P. Lords last week at a show she did, and she is as great.
T.P. Lords was the host of that,
ever. Exactly,
right.
Great. One of the things I love about this story and Scott Holland's thing, I'm very proud of our association at Happening Out and HotSpots and WMEG, because sometimes we tell really tough things in our community in terms of news, and HotSpots is really committed to helping us remember all of the fun things that we should be doing. And this is a nice merger of both of those kind of things, which I'm very happy about at HotSpots magazine. Make sure you pick it up. It's on stands now.
Now.
Really? Now, Greg.
Now. Chain of fancy butcher shops closes after staff walks out when owner yanks pride flags from stores. Fleischer's, a chain of high-end butcher shops around the New York City area, is temporarily closed after dozens of staff members walked out when the company's CEO removed pride flags and Black Lives Matter signs from the stores. People of color and queer people make up about half of CEO John Adams' employees. He learned about the consequences of his actions the hard way when 36 employees walked out. Members of the butcher shop staff say Rob Rosania, a major investor in the chain, called Adams after a friend called to complain about a BLM sign that offended him. Rosania demanded the sign be removed. Adams complied, traveling to Connecticut and New York City to remove the banners and signs. Staff rebelled, castigating Adams directly and taking their outrage to social media. Adams had promised to bring more, quote, accountability to the company, end quote, and his employees wanted him to know he failed in a major way.
Can you explain to me how the hell a BLM sign offends you? What did it say? You fat, stop eating red meat? Like, explain that to me. Like, come on.
Well, I guess you can beat Fleischer's meat after all.
Oh, that's funny.
Literally, and how homophobic do you have to be to take flights just to rip down pride flags? Like you went to the airport, you went through TSA, you got on a plane, and it's like, I'm gonna rip off some pride flags. And that's.
Wait, could you do that one more time? That voice.
Rip off pride flags.
That's the boss voice.
That's my mask voice.
Have you ever heard of a story like this where so many employees in percentage of a business enterprise just walks out to the point where the business has to close? I've never heard of that.
Pretty significant.
There is a huge labor shortage right now,
Already?
guys, okay? Right. Already. So the fact is that like now people have to listen to their employees because they can so easily leave and go get 3 other jobs. Every place is hiring right now, Al.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just love the idea, and then we kind of know a lot about boycotts, and we know that we have to also remember that we can flex our political and economic muscle by deciding where we want to work and where we want to buy. This is such a powerful story because I'm assuming, and we don't know the details here, but that not everyone who walked out was either LGBTQ or black or people of color, right? That people joined them. We hope that this is true, and hopefully those numbers continue to grow, right? In solidarity.
It's interesting to me because we are watching a situation where something very progressive has happened here of saying, wait, we're standing up for marginalized communities, and our business, even if it means my employment, means we're going to stand up to it.
Yeah.
So Queer News Tonight shouts out to all of those employees that have done this. We recognize how significant an action this was on behalf of our community, and we thank you for that. And second, I hope that this is a relatively small, intermediate-sized business, but I hope that other businesses hear the earthquake that is set off by something like this. And I'm specifically calling out the employees and the corporate boardroom of Chick-fil-A. I hope you're paying attention here in terms of what potentially can happen to you.
Yeah, there's plenty of meatpacking businesses to choose from these days. Now let's queer up Road to Stonewall. Pride of London canceled for second year in a row. Pride in London has been cancelled for the second year in a row due to the UK's pandemic mitigation restrictions. The parade, which is the largest LGBTQ+ event in the country, had been set to take place on September 11th, 2021. But organizers called the event off on Friday, August 6th. In a video message posted on YouTube and shared on Twitter, Chris Joel DeShields, Executive Director of Pride in London, explained the reasonings behind the group's decision to cancel the parade. In the video, he said, quote, "I'm truly saddened to say that Pride in London won't be happening in person this year. Last week was extremely challenging, navigating the government's recently updated COVID-19 guidelines and legislation for large-scale public events like ours," end quote. Ending the message, Joel DeShields asked supporters to visit queer-owned venues and support LGBTQ+ artists and performers.
Another COVID casualty.
Another COVID casualty.
Look, and understand that in London, 75% of all adults over 18 are vaccinated. 75%,
Wow.
okay? We are way behind, and they're taking these extreme measures to take off Pride, and they have to because they're spiking. You know, people are getting sick again, you know, and this is not a Pride like here that we get 200,000 people. London Pride gets 1.5 million people at their Pride, so they can't take the chance.
Right.
I also think they're taking responsibility. You know, they're being really responsible on the international stage because they do appreciate that this is not just and happening in London, but happening across borders. And like that, I just realized that would have been also the commemoration of the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
9/11, exactly.
Which is a powerful.
When you hear the news, we reported live breaking news last week about Space Coast Pride
yeah.
being
Yes.
canceled here in Florida. When you hear the news over the weekend about what London is doing, do you worry about what we're going to see here in Florida?
Right, because Miami's coming up and Fort Lauderdale, who knows?
Orlando Pride is canceled too, I think, no? Wasn't it supposed to happen in September?
They have not, no, in October. Space Coast Pride is the one that canceled in
Oh,
September.
God, I thought it was Orlando.
Right now, Miami Beach in September, Orlando in October, and Fort Lauderdale in November are still on.
They're still on.
But they have to be watching the news.
They have to be.
They're hoping that the numbers go up in vaccinations and they'll be able to still go along with no problem.
You know, it's
I
so
hope.
interesting. The future is in our own hands.
Yeah.
It's in our own hands. One thing that I haven't commented on this publicly. When London in the spring made the decision to do the parade, they were one of the first in the world, the major. This is New York Pride, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Miami Beach Pride significance. We reached out, from Queer News Tonight, we reached out to London to do an interview and talk about their decision to have the parade. And London was even hesitant. London Pride was even hesitant to publicly talk about their decision of returning for the parade, because they said basically, while we're committed to having the parade, we're very concerned about the optics of the decision making.
Yeah.
And we now know that they were right.
Absolutely.
In terms of the
It's a lot.
optics. Yeah.
Next, let's queer up the USA. Many LGBTQ+ people face economic cliff if eviction protections end. Jay Williams came home to an eviction notice last week. The single page stuck to the door of the Las Vegas condo they have called home for 7 years stated that Williams and their wife have 30 days to vacate. Williams said, quote, "I don't sleep very well anymore. We owe a ton of rent and might get kicked out of our house, and I have no way of fixing the situation because it is entirely out of my control," end quote. Williams, who is a non-binary transgender person and whose name has been changed because they are not out of work owes their landlord more than $10,000 in back rent. The federal eviction moratorium has up to now helped more than 7.4 million Americans behind on rent, but the moratorium never completely stopped evictions and was only a stopgap measure that didn't address the economic issues brought on by COVID-19. Prior to the pandemic, almost about 22%, I should say, of all LGBTQ plus adults were living in poverty, compared to 16% of cisgender straight adults, according to a 2019 study. Evictions, then, could be a next wave for LGBTQ plus people, experts said, that could hit the community hard and long term.
We were at that trans collaborative over the weekend, and one of the things that they were talking about were all the shelters, how a lot of the shelters are more full to capacity these days, you know, and it's going to be a lot more with things like this happening, you know. I know a gay couple that unfortunately is losing their home. They didn't read the fine print and they moved those payments to the bottom, and now they owe, like, you know, an astronomical amount of money that they don't have to give, you know, and that's going to be very common in our community.
It's terrifying.
Landlords have been proven to be the real villains of this pandemic.
But they have to pay bills too, Poppy.
Well,
Right, they have to pay taxes right.
Yeah, that's true, but they could also do more, like the cases like this one, you know, to help them out. You know, we owe it to ourselves to, you know, because I was out of work for a while last year and I was worried too. You know, thank goodness Florida unemployment came through for me, but you know, unfortunately, not a lot of people were so lucky.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and you can find a job, but how are you going to come up with 10 grand in back?
That's
a lot.
short.
Right.
And homelessness
Right.
has always been a kind of pandemic among LGBTQ folks, right? So, I mean, if we think about how this problem is being compounded and really kind of adding on to whether it's the pandemic of COVID-19, whether it's economic uncertainty, general anxiety, like, I mean, there's so many kind of things that are making the situation worse and worse. And
You know, I think that is a bullseye, but on top of that, this is not a homelessness issue.
No.
The red light that is flashing here and warning is those that are in lower income
Yeah.
and even middle income situations that have been forced financially or because of job loss or varieties of related reasons that are forced into a situation where their very ability to stay in a home,
Yeah.
in a rental apartment, whatever it might be, is at stake. I hear you in terms of the observation about the landlords, but the real villain here, in my opinion, is our government, because it is not the responsibility and it was not caused by those that lost their job. It is not caused by the businesses that had to close, and it is not caused by the landlords. This is a bigger problem than any of those segments of our economy can face or deal with. And that's when government is important. Those people that advocate for smaller or reduced government, you can't do that in a pandemic crisis, which is what we have faced for nearly 2 years. We're coming up on a 2-year mark, and that's when governments help protect their people. And this issue is likely going to be a gigantic wave that we're going to report at Queer News Tonight significantly, because there is a large number of LGBT people that are going to be dramatically and significantly adversely affected by what's going to get ready to happen next, unfortunately.
So that is our queer headlines for today. Let's catch up on the LGBTQ plus news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment called Quarantine Quickies.
Queer News Tonight has reported on coronavirus on every news broadcast since January 6, 2020.
Tonight, we report that as of today, more than 2,558,000 LGBTQ plus Americans have contracted COVID-19.
Queer News Tonight remembers the more than 44,000 LGBTQ plus Americans that have died from coronavirus.
But the news is improving because as of today, more than 351 million vaccination doses have been administered in the United States.
That is our pandemic news for tonight. Next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership.
Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious life broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
I'm Nick Matheny from the University of Miami, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Finally, we thank Queer News Tonight's sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ+ ally partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
Well, now we finish tonight's queer news headlines with what we call LGBTQ+ flash news. LGBTQ+ flash news. The truth about what really goes on at Gay Days at Disneyland. Next month in September is Gay Days. The Southern Baptists would have you believe that Gay Days is a time when we deviants bring all of our deviant behavior to Walt's sacred family destination and try to poison it with our agenda. Instead, what really happens during Gay Days is that for one weekend of the year, we get to be the majority instead of the minority. We get to walk down Main Street holding the hands of our partners without worrying about the stares we might attract. We get to gather with our families of choice at America's favorite family destination and feel like families feel every single day. Gay Days, September, next month.
5 words for you. Lazy river sex at Riptide.
Yes.
Wow. I've never been to Gay Days, but Audra McDonald and Sheila Rivera are calling my name.
Love that. Also, I would just say that Disney has always been really gay. I mean, this is a... We see what we want to see in the things we want, and we, yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I'm still mad that they're not making Luca an official gay movie because let's be honest here, it was pretty beautifully romantic and gay as hell.
Gay Days at Disneyland, of course, in Anaheim and Los Angeles, just makes me think about how exciting June of 2022 will be when we get the big, gigantic version of Gay Days in Orlando.
LGBTQ+ flash news. Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe share a kiss after U.S. basketball Olympic gold. Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird just sealed the probable end of their Olympic careers with a kiss. Bird won her 5th straight gold medal on Sunday with the U.S. women's basketball team, which defeated Japan 90-75 to extend its overall Olympic gold streak to 7. She got a sweet congratulations from fiancé Rapinoe. Rapinoe, the 36-year-old U.S. soccer star, has collected a bronze and a gold in her Summer Games career, in addition to 2 World Cup titles. The 4-time WNBA champion Bird, 40, has more Olympic gold medals than any American basketball player. She said this will be her last Olympics.
Wait, we're still talking about the Olympics?
Sports.
More sports.
Yes.
I love Rapinoe so much. She's always standing up for so many important social justice causes, and this makes me, and this is just her having her fun in her life, and this is beautiful to watch.
I hope the homophobic bigots are really mad that a lesbian has more gold medals than any other American. I mean, queers just stay winning.
Yeah.
Stay winning.
You know what's funny about this, beyond the 2 girls doing it, when I saw the picture over the weekend, which is beautiful, images and representation matters, I thought about Will and Grace in 1999. Remember them at the Today Show where they kissed and how iconic that was? That began to change everything. This is the first openly girl kiss ever shown live on television.
Oh, yeah, it was Jack and
at
Will.
the Olympics. It took only 20 years to get there for the girls.
Well, and that's why I'm not an Olympian, because it would have just not been a kiss. I would have raped her right there with her medal in her hand.
LGBTQ flash news.
My sinuses are draining.
Ejaculating often could cut risk of cancer, according to
now
science.
something Greg's interested in. Got it.
Researchers from Harvard and Boston universities found that men who have an orgasm 21 times per month are less likely to develop prostate cancer. The study, published in the journal European Urology, saw scientists comb through data of more than 31,925 men who tallied their average monthly number of ejaculations from 1992 to 2010. The connection between having an orgasm and prostate cancer has long baffled scientists, with diet and other lifestyle factors thought to play a role in how and why cancer develops in certain people. Scientists say more research needs to be done, but in the meantime, it's safe to say that one more orgasm really won't hurt.
You know, the only thing I could think of as I hear this is that as a researcher, to hear these people at Harvard or whatever kind of studying this, and now next time we hear someone say that they're doing, you know, they're trying to solve cancer, we kind of think about the real work they're doing, which is God's work.
Yes, I agree.
God's work.
As a fellow researcher, is there like a Dropbox with all of these contacts, and these records, you know, just for research?
When I heard this report, I thought, wait, 21 times? Oh, check. I'm A-okay. No problem.
And that's why all the gay boys in Wilton Manors have the most pristine prostates.
See, I told you so. Stop complaining.
Pristine
Were you talking to your hand?
I was.
Oh, my.
Manuela.
I'm gonna get prostates tatted on my butt tomorrow. LGBTQ plus flash news. President Biden nominates out philanthropist to serve as Swiss ambassador. This weekend, President Joe Biden announced 10 further nominees for appointment within his administration. 2 of the 10 nominees are out. Biden is nominating Scott Miller as the ambassador to Switzerland and Liechtenstein, and Todd Hopper as the chairman of the National Credit Union Administration. Miller and his husband, philanthropist Tim Gill, consider themselves the most prominent donors toward LGBTQ rights in American history, having given over $500 million to pro-LGBTQ causes as of 2019. Both have contributed at least $3 billion to Democrat politicians or causes since 2010. Miller also worked on Biden's presidential campaign in 2020.
You know, I can hear the Bernie Sanders wing of the LGBTQ party, but I just want to echo, money in our politics is a powerful voice to help the LGBTQ community. So these 2 donors and that appointment, I'm A-okay with, because I want to thank them for everything that they've done in propelling LGBTQ charities and our political process.
I need a millionaire. I need a millionaire gay boy as part of my life, so call me to fit the quota.
Money talks. 2 words. Money talks.
I have to say I agree. I mean, this is essentially, I mean, while this is such an important, well, the work they've done is so important, also, I mean, placement, right? I mean, this money bought them a position and of power.
I definitely think they would be considered allies with billions of dollars donated. That's like gold star allyship, right? It's got to be a thing.
More like platinum star.
There you go, platinum.
Black card.
LGBTQ plus flash news. Ariel Nicholson makes LGBTQ plus history as the first transgender model to cover US Vogue. Fashion model Ariel Nicholson has made LGBTQ plus history with her latest Vogue appearance. The young talent has become the first transgender woman to grace the cover of the legendary magazine. Alongside her Vogue cover debut, Nicholson touched on the importance of trans representation in an interview, saying, quote, "Obviously it's a big deal being the first trans woman on the cover of Vogue, but it's also hard to say exactly what kind of a big deal it is when the effects are so intangible. I've been put in this box, oh, trans model, which is what I am, but that's not all I am."
Maybe now we'll get some trans rights going for the rest of them. Am I right? I mean, Vogue. What an accomplishment. That's really amazing.
You know, last month we reported Sports Illustrated had the first trans model ever on Sports Illustrated, and I made the remark that it was very significant because of the straight men that wait for the Sports Illustrated. This is a whole different level. To be on the cover of Vogue is a fashion representation of women that is unparalleled in the world. And then add trans woman to that as cover is beyond historic.
I love Ariel Nicholson. She looks so disinterested in life. I love that. That's it.
And leave it to the fashion world to lead. That's not a surprise at all.
So many firsts, and I love it. I want more firsts. I love all these.
But just remember, Laverne Cox was on Vogue, British Vogue, years ago.
That's
so what
right.
took them so long? All right?
Right.
All right. So that's today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share this news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television news in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of the Rapinoe Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Faye What? Gregg Shapiro, Poppy J. Snacks, and Dr. Julio Capo Jr. We will see you daily at 8 p.m.
Bye.
Good night.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Rapinoe Television Network, Queer News.